Hey everybody, Chris here with the academyofworship.org YouTube channel, and today we are talking about capos. Specifically, capos on acoustic guitar. Because I've been seeing some things recently that really made me think about why we use capos, just kind of the general attitude toward capos. We've already covered capos a little bit on the channel, whereas I talked about it on electric guitar because I think that in that arena, it's even more of a contested idea. So we won't go there. I've already covered it. But in this video, like I said, we'll be talking about acoustic guitars and the role that capos play. At the beginning of the video, you saw and heard two versions of the same tune. And I put these in an interesting key to demonstrate kind of what I'm talking about. And that key is B flat. Now, we all know the G, C, and D, and E minor chord shapes, and we're really comfortable playing in the first position those chords. But when it comes to playing in keys that don't fit perfectly into a chord shape that we're used to, and we're stuck with things like bar chords, things get a little funky on acoustic guitar, not only for our fingers and our hands, but for our ears. Let me explain. In modern worship music, or really modern music in general, the acoustic guitar kind of plays a specific role. A rhythmic role where you get those kind of in-between strums, and it's almost like a shaker in the music. You can kind of hear it going chick, 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 along with some chords that help lay down the music foundation itself. So like I said, when you're in a key of, say, B flat, you're stuck mostly with bar chords. These kind of things. And while those chords sound fine on their own, I've found that when you're playing in modern music, one, they're not super convenient for your hand to play. And your hand can get tired holding those shapes down because you're using muscles that aren't super comfortable to use in your hand for long periods of time. And two, you kind of get lost in the music because generally speaking, the ear, when hearing the rest of the band around you, kind of hear power chords over that. You really end up just hearing something like this. Now, that in of itself is okay sounding, I guess, but in the context of the music, it kind of gets lost and it's boring, to be honest. So in this video, we're going to take that and convert it to something that works great with a capo and is movable to any key you want. One thing I'd like to do is take those two versions of the same tune at the beginning of this video and strip out the acoustic guitar so you can just hear what the two tonalities are on the acoustic. The first one you're going to hear is the bar chord version, or the one that sounds a little bit more muffled. I think you'll find that it just sounds choked up a bit for an acoustic guitar. And the second one you're going to hear is the capoed, more open sounding version of the song. And I think you'll find that it's more pleasing to the ear because it doesn't sound as choked and it just sounds open and clean. But you be the judge. Leave me some comments below and tell me what you think. If you're already used to using a capo, then you're probably familiar with this, and this is probably just going to be a refresher course for you. But for those of you getting into acoustic guitar, or maybe you're coming out of your bedroom into more of a band setting and you want to fit in the right place musically, and you don't really know how to use a capo and you're embarrassed to ask anybody, or you're looking around on YouTube and you found this video, well, this video is for you because I want to show you how to use this thing and not be embarrassed about pulling it out anymore. So disclaimer, anyone out there who's going to get on anyone else, any other guitar player for using a capo, you need to stop it. A capo's simply a tool, and it makes the guitar sound a different way and play a different way. There's no right and wrong. On the other side of the coin, if you're happy to play those bar chords all the time and don't want to use a capo, more power to you. But for those that want to go further and take the capo and use it as a tool and employ it in whatever music you play, then stick around. So first thing to know about capos in general is that all you're doing is moving the nut of your guitar. So just like this nut is the end of the fretboard in this direction anyway, the capo can pinch down the strings at any one fret and become your new nut. So when you're playing a G shape with no capo, we're all used to that chord, we're all used to where to play it, but what if we want to take that chord shape and continue to use it with all of the normal shapes that come after it or before it, but move the nut so that the key of the guitar is proper for whatever song we're playing, in this case, B flat. So how do we move that G to a B flat? Well, it's relatively simple. The first thing you have to do is find the root note of the song. So in this case, B flat. That's the 6th fret on the low E string, right here. Now, if we know that we want that note to become what essentially is our G down here, we need to move our nut up 3 frets so that it's on the 3rd fret. Now, when you place the capo, you want to place it as close to the fret for the fret you're using as possible. In this case, the 3rd fret. So you count up 3. 1, 2, 3, and you place it just right up to that wire. If you put it right in the center, you're going to get it pulling more out of tune than it would if you were right next to the fret. So put it as close this way as you can. Make sure to also place it straight up and down. A little bit of an angle is fine. You're never going to get it perfect, but get it as close to the fret and use that as your guide. Now, because we put our capo here, none of these strings back here are going to ring. And so our new point of reference is our capo. So if we count this fret right here as fret 1, then all of a sudden, this fret becomes the G, if you will. So if you play a G shape right there, you get a B flat note with the G shape. What's great about that is all of the shapes that you're used to playing apply here. So if you play a C shape, or a C9 shape in this case, you get the sound of an E flat major chord. And then if you play an E minor shape, or the Chris Tomlin version, you're essentially sounding a G minor chord. Because look, your open string is now a G when you play it. And because that shape is minor, G minor. Now I admit this takes some getting used to, and if you're not used to thinking in guitar in those terms, then you're going to have to spend some time with it. But I promise that if you do, you'll all of a sudden see things open up and chord shapes sound better for certain keys of certain songs. For instance, what if I wanted to play a classic C major shape, but make it sound like an E major? Well, the first thing you're going to have to do is find the lowest note of that normal chord that you're used to playing, which in this case is a C major. And if you start that on your A string, that would be the 3rd fret of the A string, sounding a low C. But because we want that chord, that shape, to sound like an E major, you're going to have to find that note elsewhere on the neck with that same shape. And really that's pretty easy. You just slide it up until your 3rd finger, your ring finger here, is on an E. In this case, you slide up to the 7th fret, and this shape right here is what you want. But because we don't have a new nut yet, that won't sound right. So we take our trusty capo, and we find out where to place it. Now, if we want that new E to be the 3rd fret in reference to our new nut, we need to put our new nut down. And in this case, we're putting it on the 4th fret. Because when we put it there, and again, put it close to that fret wire, when we put it there, and this is our point of reference, and we count out frets, 1, 2, 3, there's our new E here, the new 3rd fret, if you will, right there, and you play it, and all of a sudden, that is a C shape, but it's sounding an E major chord. So if you were on a piano or someone else is playing an E on their instrument and you played that C shape, but here now, you now have an E major. And now you can play all the normal shapes that you're used to playing, like here's a C, an F shape, right? Back to a G. Now in reality, you're playing an E major, you're playing an A major, an E major again, and a B major. So tonally speaking, you can really open up your acoustic guitar to sound the right chords, but be in comfortable open shapes that you're used to playing. And ultimately, I think this makes the acoustic guitar sit better in a mix. Let's be honest, with certain exceptions, acoustic guitars are meant to be strummed and sound open and big and all 6 strings ring out. So when you're limiting it to certain shapes on the guitar that kind of muffle that, it takes away from the overall acoustic guitar experience. Well, that's pretty much it. I don't have too much more to say on the subject other than if you're new to the capo and using a capo, you're going to need to play with it and get used to using it. You may find that all of a sudden songs that you hated to play or tunes that you hated to do on the guitar all of a sudden really pleasing to play and easy to play when you start using a capo. So get out there, squeeze one of them bad boys on your guitar, and enjoy the awesome new sounds that come out of it. I hope this has been helpful to you. I hope that you can take this knowledge and apply it somewhere that you're playing music. I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. So if you have a story to tell about a capo and an acoustic guitar, please leave it below. Maybe you hate capos on guitar and acoustic guitar. Tell me that too. I'd love to hear from you guys. But until next time, go twist some knobs, flip some switches, throw some capos on your guitar, and have fun. I'll see you in the next one.